Hello and welcome back to the Empowered to Lead podcast. I am so glad that you are here. Today we are talking about something that is very important for us as leaders, which is where are there places that you as a leader not having healthy boundaries is affecting your ability to be an empowered leader, to not burn out, and to feel like you can be authentic in everything that you are providing to the therapists and the clients who are related to you and to your family and friends. And so we're talking about a boundary audit that I created. And so if you're interested in digging into it a little bit more after the episode, you can click on the resources and access that. I've created a fillable PDF for you, but I really wanted to walk you through it today. And as you're driving or going for a run or watching this on YouTube, really dig in, reflect on some of these questions. Some of them you're going to be like, nope, that's not my problem. But what happens with a lot of us as we are running a group practice, we start because we care. We care for our clients, we care for our clinicians, and we care for the work itself. We love what it provides for us. And we have gotten to the point where we are carrying on more than we actually intended. So what started with, I love this, I'm invested, it feels energizing, now feels heavy. And how does that show up so that you might notice some of these things yourself? You say yes when you're already stretched. You take on a project or somebody has a great idea and you're like, yeah, let's make that happen. And then you take on more responsibilities than maybe you should be. You take on tasks that no longer fit your role. So when I'm creating this boundary audit, my admin is on mat leave, and I really wish that she wasn't, because this is no longer a task that fits my role. And so you may be answering phones, you may be tracking some metrics that you don't need to. You take on tasks that are no longer part of your CEO obligation or role. You might be avoiding hard or difficult conversations just because you want to keep the peace, or you don't want to lose another therapist. And so you're staying away from difficult conversations. And sometimes you agree to a compensation structure that actually no longer works for your business. Maybe it never worked, but you're worried that you're going to lose a therapist, or maybe they'll never join you. And so you stretch and you provide something that is not in alignment with what is taking care of your business and your energy and your clients and your therapists. So this workbook that I've provided, this podcast today, is an invitation for you to pause and to notice where some boundary violations might be happening for you. And really, we tell our clients all the time, but sometimes it's really hard for us to implement some of these things. Healthy boundaries aren't about doing less or caring less. When you put healthy boundaries in place, it doesn't mean that you don't care about your team. It's about leading with clarity so that your practice, your business, your finances, and your nervous system can stay sustainable, so that you can keep the doors open on this business and that you can thrive and you can be the leader and provide what you actually want to be providing. So here are some of the questions I want you to consider as you do your own boundary audit. Where maybe are you stretching? If you're feeling burnt out, or you're feeling like, I really resent this person, where's that showing up? So first question, where am I saying yes when I want to say no? the key element of boundaries. I want to authentically say yes, and I want to authentically say no, and sometimes they get mixed up. And so the check-in for this is, what are you agreeing to out of guilt, fear, or habit? This is something I've always done. So how can I give that to someone else? Who do you find it hardest to say no to in your life, in your business life? And so as we reframe that as a CEO, as the leader of the business, a CEO who is stepping into empowered leadership says yes based on alignment, not obligation. So as you move forward and you're doing this audit of your time and boundaries, here's an action step. What is one yes that you were ready to pause or renegotiate or flip around and say no to? I'll give you a second to think about that. The second place to do an audit on how your boundaries are in your group practice, in your professional role, where do you notice resentment building? And so this is something that I do a lot of work with clients and with group practice owners. If we're starting to notice some of these things building up and building resentment, that's a good sign that we need to implement some healthy boundaries and protect us so that we protect the relationship. So where the check-in is, where do I feel underappreciated or taken for granted? Who am I quietly resenting and why? Where does the money piece show up? So others are earning more. It's easier for them to make money. Or maybe I could be earning the same without all of this responsibility. Where's that showing up? What am I giving that I haven't agreed to give? So maybe we just passively didn't say anything. And now it's on our shoulders. And I actually don't remember agreeing to give to you in that way. The CEO reframe for this is, as an empowered leader, resentment isn't a flaw. It's information about missing boundaries. So don't judge yourself for having that resentment. Don't excuse it. Just be curious. Where are some boundaries that you might need to implement? The action step for this one is find one place where resentment is signaling a boundary that needs attention and write it down. Even just that first step can be huge as we acknowledge that resentment is building in this area. Sometimes that's the hardest first step. Number 3. What tasks do I keep taking on because it feels easier, it seems easier than delegating? Well, if I don't do it, it won't get done right. Or I just have to explain myself in order to make this happen. It's faster if I just do it. And then we're extended further than we want to be. Or now we're working at 8 o'clock at night when we're really wanting to stop working at 6. So I want to ask you to check in. What do you default to doing yourself? And what story do you tell yourself about why you can't delegate this yet? So maybe you know that you want to delegate, but you're waiting for something to fall into place. What is that? Is it true? Is that valid? So the CEO reframe of this, when you're an empowered leader stepping into your CEO role, what feels easier now often creates pressure later. So I might be taking this on because it's easier, faster, whatever we say. But if we keep taking that on, if we keep the responsibility for that, does it actually make sense? Or should I be delegating this? So your action step for this one is to name, again, one task that you could begin transitioning off your plate. That could be scary. It can be exciting. It can be like, Lisa, you don't know what the hell you're talking about because I can't delegate that. But write it down and start contemplating it. Maybe there's a goal, a person in sight that can take that off your plate for you. Here's another question. Another question in the audit. Where am I rescuing instead of leading? Kind of goes with the last one, but also when we are people pleasers, when we are scared of somebody leaving, when we are not valuing ourselves and not feeling empowered as a leader, we start rescuing. We start grabbing onto people. We start trying to save things. So the check-in is, where am I stepping in to prevent discomfort or mistakes? My discomfort or their discomfort? Be a little curious about that as well. Whose responsibility are you carrying that actually isn't yours? You're rescuing them. So there have been times when my admin, who's on mat leave, my Melissa, I call her, there have been times when I have asked her to do tasks. So one thing that really stands out is social media. I wanted her to be responsible for that. And then we talked and I could see her discomfort. So there was a point that we came to where there was just too much on her plate. And I was asking her to do something that wasn't in her capacity, in her desire to do things, in her skill set would be a good way of doing it. And so that was appropriate for me to take that off her plate. That was an appropriate boundary or an appropriate taking back. But it didn't start there. There were so many times when I was like, I should not be doing the social media. This is not something that is working for me. I'm resenting it. I'm resenting Melissa because I had that in the job description. But when I see her busy or when I hear her talk about how stressed she is with things going on in the office and at home, I rescue. I want to make things easier for her. I can just do that. I'll just spend a few hours on Saturday. I'll take care of it. And then she doesn't have to work on the weekend or she doesn't have to stress about that. I'm rescuing. I'm not actually leading. So the empowered leader reframe, the CEO reframe of that is rescuing keeps the peace. Leadership builds capacity. So when we explored her capacity, her ability to do social media, let's be honest, with Melissa, it was not a skill set. And so we realized that pushing there wasn't actually appropriate, but we had somebody new start, and she was a little anxious about it, and we put that on her plate. Here's the ways that you can do this. Here's some examples. Let's have you try some out so that we can build some of your capacity, your knowledge in this area. We're going to make sure we're on the same page. And then she took that on and she took it off my plate. I didn't have to do it anymore. So appropriate. When you're thinking of building capacity, sometimes you can go, well, okay, you can just take care of this. I don't want to do it. And then you look back and you're like, well, that was crap, or that doesn't represent me well. So recognizing, being realistic about capacity and skill set, but also where am I rescuing rather than leading this person and helping them excel? So your action step for this one is to identify one situation where you will pause before stepping in. Let you think about that for a sec. The last question I want you to consider is, what decision have you been avoiding? there can be so many, and there can be so many reasons. We're going to keep this to how does this point to we don't have some healthy boundaries in this place. So the check-in is, what decision keeps looping in your mind? There's a decision that you know you have to make. You're afraid of what will happen if you make that decision. So there's fear. You're worried about who that's going to impact. All the people involved. It may impact you as well. But there's something in fear that is happening that is not letting you make that decision. So the reframe of that as an empowered CEO, leader of your business, is avoided decisions quietly drain energy. So the longer you put that decision off, the more you're going to notice your energy draining. There's a group practice owner that I have worked with for a number of years. She had a really hard decision to make in letting somebody go. And she had finally come to that decision. And then it happened. She let that person go. And all of a sudden, she's got all this energy. She's got all this capacity to be present for her team. She's exhausted because she has to take on this person's role because they don't have somebody in place yet to take that on. But there's a lightness, there's a freeness to her. And what that does is that trickles out into your team. And so some of your decisions might be related to hire slow, fire fast. They might be related to, I don't want to hurt this person. This is going to have this impact on their life. Where is fear keeping you from making that decision? So your action step for that is the next small step you're going to take towards making that decision is fill in that blank. So as we wrap up, I want you to consider, how do you step into your CEO role? How do you show up as an empowered leader when it comes to these areas of boundaries? So reflect on what we've talked about. What pattern do you notice as I posed these questions? Where are you ready to lead with more clarity, both for yourself, for your team, maybe for home? And how can you step into that? So one way that you can step into that is we think about, I usually try and end with a leadership challenge, is this week, you are going to strengthen one boundary that supports you in your CEO role. Let me say that again since I stumbled. Over this coming week, before you listen to the next episode, where is one boundary that you are going to strengthen because it supports you in your CEO, your empowered leader role? Email me. I would love to hear what that's going to be. You can access this tool again through the links and the resources, or you can contact me. Right now, I'm only offering this boundary audit to Empowered to Lead listeners. And so you are a special leader. And I really hope that this helps you to reflect, to help you step into that leadership role. We need you. We, across Canada, clients need you to be really excelling in your role, to feel energized, to feel like you have capacity. They need you because when you feel like that, you can lead your therapist well. And your therapists need to know that you are feeling like you want to be there, that you are not resenting them. They want to know, they signed on to come to your group practice because there's something about you that attracted them to join your group practice. And they want you to be fulfilled and to be empowered. And so how do you step into that empowered leader role and enact some healthy, authentic boundaries in your life? Until next time, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you and hearing how those boundaries come into place for you. Thanks for hanging out with me on Empowered to Lead, the therapist practice. If you're ready for deeper support, I'd love to see you inside the Group Practice Connection, my monthly membership where Canadian therapists like you get coaching, community, and the tools to build a business that actually supports your life. You can check it out at grouppracticenetwork.ca. We're building something great here, and I'm so glad you're a part of it.
This is Michelle Abraham, and we are honored to have Lisa Catallo's Empowered to Lead podcast on our High Vibe Podcast Network. For more shows like hers and to grab your free gift from the gift fold, head on over to highvibepodcastnetwork.com.